Good. So thank you again for inviting me here. It's quite an honor, and it's a very interesting event, and I really appreciate it. So I wanted to take some time today to talk about the company I started roughly around three years ago called Embrace. And we started the company because what we wanted to do was we wanted to provide low-cost medical technology to developing countries. As you probably are aware, in the pamphlets, that 90% of the products are designed for 10% of the people, and that's not very fair. And we didn't like that. And there's little things you can do to actually improve the lives of many people if you just think about it. So the mission of the company right now is to focus on providing all infants an equal chance at a healthy lifestyle, and we do that through our product, which is a low-cost infant warmer. So just some background, and I'll get to a little bit about how the company started, but the other co-founders are from different disciplines from Stanford University. So I'm an engineer, but our CEO is a business school student, and we have a PhD and actually a double master's. So very, very smart people, much smarter than me actually. So it's an honor to be working with them. And our board consists of very famous neonatologists from the Stanford Medical Center, from very established manufacturing companies, and also VCs. So we have a couple of VCs, and then we also have the president of Stanford is also our board of advisors. So we've been featured, we've been lucky to be featured in a lot of different publications, magazines, and there's a lot of momentum and a lot of interest in the company. And this is what keeps us sort of motivated and why we actually keep going. So the problem we're trying to solve, and the background of the company, is we're really trying to solve the 20 million low birth weight and premature babies that are born every year. And 4 million of them die. And the major reason they die is because of hypothermia, meaning that they get too cold and there's no way to actually keep them warm. And so the way the class came about is similar to this InG program, where you come together from different disciplines, from different areas. So in my class, we had the 7 schools of Stanford. So the medical school, the engineering school, the business school, the law school, all the different schools came together. We come into a class, and we try to solve a problem. And so our year, we try to solve this problem right here. And we break up into groups, and then you do the first step, which is to understand the issue. So what is really the big issue? And when we went there to understand what the problem is and why so many babies are dying, you kind of feel and understand the users. And what happens is, traditionally in America, you have these very expensive, high-tech incubators on the far right. And they're nice. Their main function is to provide warmth, but they're very, very expensive. They're about $20,000. And because of the environment in developing countries can't afford that price, so what they do is they make up their own solutions. They try to find things that are cheaper. They try to engineer solutions that they can afford. And what you see is on the far left, which is essentially just like a crib with a light bulb on top. And so when we try to understand this problem, we really try to understand what is the big issue. And when we talk to a lot of our doctors, and we talk to a lot of our advisors, they said the main issue, the main reason you make an incubator is just to provide warmth. If you can give and keep a baby warm, 80% of the time, the baby will survive. And if you look at those $20,000 incubators on the far right, they do provide warmth, but they also provide air filtration and different sort of mechanisms that are not really needed. And they are needed for the very premature baby, but for 80% of the case, if you develop something that just keeps the baby warm at body temperature, that baby will survive. So, so what we came up with, actually, I forgot the product, 1 second. Sorry. Sorry. I forgot the product. But it's this product. It's very, very portable, as you can see. And I'll explain it a little bit later. But going back to what we did in the field, when we're living with the villagers, when we're talking to the doctors in India, we tried to understand the problems, right? We had to design something for them. And one thing that they kept saying and what we kept noticing was there's no electricity, right? And I think the other group mentioned that, especially in the rural areas, sometimes you have electricity, sometimes you don't. And so we had to design something that works with or without electricity. And we had to design something that had no moving parts. So one hospital I visited, when I went there, they had an incubator with a light bulb, but it was broken. And I asked them why they didn't replace the light bulb. And they were saying that it was basically too hard because it's so hard for them to get a simple light bulb out to those rural areas. The other thing is you need something portable. You need something easy to use, easy to understand, easy to clean, and then allows for close mother and child interaction. So let me explain a little bit how it works. So what we spent a long time doing was trying to figure out what can we do to keep a baby warm that requires no electricity. So we invented, we formulated a chemical which is in this pouch. And this chemical has a special property of staying warm for a long period of time. So if I had a warm bottle of water, after about 10-15 minutes it'll start cooling down. But this chemical will stay warm for 4 hours at a time without cooling down. And so it will stay warm at body temperature, which is very critical for a baby. And then after 4 hours, then it'll start cooling down. So we designed this. We put in this pouch with some water to distribute the heat. And we designed an insulator to insulate not only the pouch, but to insulate the baby. And you can warm this up. You can melt this pouch using hot water, or you can use electricity too. We have a separate heater, depending on whether you're in a clinic that has electricity or maybe in the rural areas without electricity. And what you do is, after you warm it up, you stick it behind this pouch here, and then you put the baby inside. So it's very, very simple. But what we found out is it's very, very effective as well. So the next part of, I guess, the design process is to do prototypes and interaction, right? And I think I saw in your brochure too that that's a very key component of actually getting a product that people want. So we moved to India. I've been living in India for 3 years, working with the users, prototyping, really understanding what they want, what they don't want, to come up with our final design. So this is all the product evolution of just this sleeping bag alone. And as you can see, we put multiple babies in it and tested with mothers and doctors, and eventually coming up with this design. So it's constant prototyping and constant getting feedback from the users, which is why it's very important to actually be on the ground. We actually developed a lot of this in Palo Alto, very close to the Jaipur InG company. And what we realized is we couldn't do it. We couldn't understand the users from 10,000 miles away.